Right now, a deeply unusual weather pattern is taking shape across the United States. One that will simultaneously deliver catastrophic flash flooding, a renewed and organized severe thunderstorm threat, a dangerous heat dome building across the Central Plains, and the remnants of a tropical system pushing inland with heavy rain and storm surge. We are talking about a 7 to 10 day stretch of relentless, compounding weather events affecting tens of millions of people from the Gulf Coast all the way to the Northeast. This is not a simple storm or a single system passing through. This is a supercharged, multi-layered pattern that is going to demand your attention every single day for the foreseeable future. So let us get right into it, because there's a tremendous amount happening across this country right now and in the days ahead. To understand why this pattern is so unusual and so broadly dangerous, we need to start with the big picture: the jet stream and the large-scale atmospheric setup currently locked across the continental United States. Right now, a large high-pressure system has been building and expanding across the southern tier of the country. That high has been responsible for drawing persistent heat and moisture across the Four Corners region of the Southwest, where several inches of rain have already accumulated over the past several days, generating significant flooding and isolated severe weather across portions of that area. Meanwhile, out on the opposite side of the country, the jet stream has carved out a dramatic and deep dip across the Midwest and into the Northeast, establishing a persistent trough that has been the primary engine behind the severe weather outbreak that struck the Ohio Valley and the Northeast just a couple of days ago. That same trough, drawing an enormous plume of atmospheric moisture northward, was directly responsible for significant flooding across North Carolina and Virginia overnight. And that flooding threat is very much ongoing and intensifying as we move through today. What makes this setup so unusually complex and so dangerous for such a wide swath of the country is the way the pattern evolves from here. As we push toward the weekend and into early next week, that high-pressure system across the southern United States is going to continue expanding northward across the Great Plains and locking in as what meteorologists call a heat dome, a massive, persistent region of strongly sinking air that traps extreme heat beneath it across the central United States for days at a stretch. At the same time, the persistent trough in the jet stream is not retreating. It will continue channeling atmospheric energy and severe weather potential across the Midwest and Ohio Valley through multiple rounds of organized thunderstorm activity over several consecutive days next week. Layer on top of all of this the continuous supply of deep tropical moisture being fed northward from the Gulf of Mexico, courtesy of Tropical Storm Bertha, and you have assembled an atmosphere that is simultaneously primed for catastrophic flooding, dangerous heat, and repeated organized severe weather across a huge portion of the country. This is precisely the kind of pattern that meteorologists put a red circle around on the calendar and watch very, very closely. Let us start with the most urgent and immediately life-threatening situation: the Carolinas and Virginia, where dangerous flooding is happening right now. A stalled frontal boundary is locked in place across this region, and it is drawing a continuous and enormous supply of tropical moisture directly off of Tropical Storm Bertha, sitting in the Gulf of Mexico below. The result is a textbook training thunderstorm setup, where storm after storm fires along the exact same line and tracks over the same communities, hour after hour, without any break in the cycle. The Weather Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk of excessive rainfall from Raleigh all the way to Virginia Beach. And that is not a designation that gets handed out casually. We are looking at upwards of 4 to 6 inches of rain across that broad corridor today. And in the most concentrated areas, those totals are going to climb substantially higher. The high-resolution model is currently painting a widespread swath of 3 to 8 inches of rainfall across much of North Carolina, including Winston-Salem and the surrounding Piedmont. Out near the Cape Hatteras area and the Outer Banks, some isolated locations are facing the potential for 8 to 10 inches of rainfall within a 24 to 48-hour window. Virginia Beach and the Ahoskie area are currently forecast to receive around 5 to 6 inches. And over in the mountains of western North Carolina, particularly the Cherokee National Forest and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park region, model guidance is showing a range of 2 to as many as 8 to 9 inches over the next couple of days. This is a particularly elevated area of concern. Many viewers will remember that western North Carolina was catastrophically impacted by Hurricane Helene just a couple of years ago, and the landscape and watershed conditions there mean that the terrain may respond to heavy rainfall more aggressively and faster than under normal circumstances. Flash flooding in mountainous terrain develops with extreme speed, with almost no warning, and the water that moves through those narrow mountain valleys at peak flow can be extraordinarily and lethally destructive. If you're in or near that area over the next 48 hours, please take every precaution available to you and stay continuously aware of conditions in your immediate surroundings. For all viewers across the broader Carolina and Virginia flooding zone today, the message is simple and it is not negotiable. Do not drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, do not drown. That phrase exists because the vast majority of flood-related fatalities in the United States involve people in vehicles who attempted to drive through water they could not accurately assess. 6 inches of fast-moving water can knock a full-grown adult completely off their feet. 2 feet of water flowing across a roadway will sweep away most passenger vehicles. There is no errand, no obligation, and no destination worth that risk. If you live in a low-lying area near any creek or stream with a history of rapid rises during heavy rain, a neighborhood that has experienced flooding in the past, treat that history as a direct and immediate warning today. Move to higher ground before the water rises, not after. The flooding concern does not stop in the Carolinas and Virginia. From Birmingham, Alabama, all the way back toward the Cape Hatteras area, a broad swath of excessive rainfall risk is in place. And even further west, near Kansas City and out toward Denver, Colorado, there is a slight risk of excessive rainfall. Near Dodge City in the Central Plains, current model guidance suggests nearly 4 inches of rain could accumulate over the next 48 hours. The Salina and Emporia areas are looking at 1 to 3 inches. Even near Wichita, 1 to 2 inches of rain is on the table. The heaviest concentration of rainfall west of Kansas City has the potential to produce localized flooding concerns. Across the Central Plains today, it is going to be a broadly stormy day with waves of heavy rain-producing thunderstorms developing from the morning hours into the afternoon. East of Denver, some of those storms could become severe enough to generate damaging wind gusts, though the tornado and large hail risks across the plains today remain very low. Now let us talk about Tropical Storm Bertha directly, because this is the system feeding the moisture dynamics across the southeast and Gulf Coast in real time, and it deserves a full and honest assessment. Bertha made its initial landfall near New Orleans, Louisiana, yesterday afternoon as a low-end tropical storm with maximum sustained winds of approximately 45 miles per hour at the time it came ashore. Since making that landfall, the system has been slow-moving with deep convection currently concentrated across the western Gulf of Mexico just south of Houston. Bertha is expected to drift toward the Texas coast and make a second landfall near Houston, arriving either late tonight or into early tomorrow morning as a very weak tropical storm with maximum sustained winds of around 45 to 50 miles per hour. This is not a strengthening or intensifying hurricane scenario. Bertha is not expected to reach hurricane intensity at any point during this event, and the overall intensity forecast carries very low uncertainty in that regard. But the absence of major wind speeds does not make this storm harmless. The primary hazards accompanying Bertha's Texas landfall will be storm surge and heavy rainfall-induced flooding. Storm surge of up to 3 feet will be possible from approximately Houston back toward New Orleans along the immediate coastline, capable of producing significant inundation across low-lying coastal areas. The heavy rainfall within Bertha's broad circulation will generate a localized flooding threat from Corpus Christi northward toward Galveston, with the greater Houston metropolitan area sitting directly in the zone of concern tonight and into early tomorrow morning. If you are in the Houston area or anywhere along the Texas Gulf Coast between Corpus Christi and Galveston, monitor conditions closely tonight and respond immediately to any watches or warnings issued by your local National Weather Service office. Beyond surge and rainfall flooding, Bertha will also generate dangerous rip currents along Gulf Coast beaches that will persist for days following the storm's landfall. If you have any plans to visit the beach along the Gulf Coast in the coming days, please exercise extreme caution around the water. Rip currents associated with tropical systems are among the most deadly surf hazards imaginable, and they claim lives every single season, even in surf that appears completely calm and inviting from the shoreline. Now let us look at the broader severe weather picture for today and tomorrow across the rest of the country, because beyond the flooding and tropical storm threats, there are also active severe weather risks playing out simultaneously across multiple regions. For today, a slight risk of severe weather has been placed in effect for southwestern Kansas, where damaging winds are the primary hazard. Marginal severe weather risks are also active across the Pacific Northwest, down in South Texas, and along the Carolina coastline, where the training thunderstorm activity remains capable of producing an isolated severe storm. The main hazard across virtually all of these areas today will be damaging wind gusts reaching up to 65 miles per hour. The tornado risk today is near zero across all active threat areas. The hail risk, while not completely zero across the Central Plains and Pacific Northwest, is quite low. Friday brings a slight risk of severe weather for the northern plains, representing what I believe is the very beginning of a building, an increasingly serious severe weather stretch heading into the weekend and early next week. Friday looks primarily like a wind-driven event for any severe weather that develops. The tornado risk on Friday is very low, and the hail risk is minimal. Saturday looks mostly quiet for severe weather on a broad scale, with only isolated storm chances across the Great Lakes and Midwest from a very weak passing disturbance, and severe weather Saturday should remain limited and difficult to pinpoint. Saturday is really a transitional day, as the much more consequential pattern change begins gathering energy beneath the surface of the atmosphere. Before we move into the Sunday through Tuesday severe weather threat window, which is genuinely the most consequential portion of this entire extended forecast, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and have your notifications activated. This pattern is going to require regular and meaningful updates over the coming days, and the specific details of the Sunday through Tuesday severe weather events are going to sharpen considerably as we approach those dates. You will want the most current and accurate information available when the timing and location of these events comes into sharper focus. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now so you never miss a critical update on this rapidly evolving pattern. Sunday is where this atmospheric setup takes a dramatic and meaningful escalation in severe weather intensity, and if you live anywhere in the Midwest, this is the day to have circled on your calendar. An intensifying surface low will be positioned across the northern plains, with surface pressure expected to drop to around 995 millibars by Sunday evening. That is a meaningful deepening of the low, signaling an atmosphere that is becoming increasingly organized and energetically favorable for dangerous and potentially long-lived thunderstorm activity. The target area for Sunday's severe weather risk encompasses Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and possibly northern Illinois. All hazards will be on the table for Sunday. Damaging winds, large hail, and a tornado risk that absolutely needs to be taken seriously. If you live in any of those states, Sunday is a day to have your weather alerts active well in advance, to know your shelter location without having to look it up under pressure, and to have your severe weather plan ready to execute without hesitation. Then comes Monday, and this is the day I am watching with the greatest level of attention and concern across the entire extended forecast period. By Monday, the storm system responsible for Sunday's severe weather will have tracked southward and eastward, and the region of greatest atmospheric instability and organized severe weather potential will shift to the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. The low-level wind profiles already beginning to appear in model guidance are hinting at increasingly favorable conditions for long-lived and organized supercell thunderstorms, exactly the type of rotating storm structures that produce large and destructive hail, widespread significant wind damage, and violent tornadoes. All hazards of severe weather will be on the table for Monday across the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. If you live in that corridor, Monday is not a day for passive awareness. It is a day to have a finalized plan, a confirmed shelter location, every device in your household fully charged, and all county-level weather alerts active and confirmed. Tuesday then continues the sequence as that storm system tracks further eastward and is expected to be intensifying back near New York City. Tuesday could set up as another day of elevated severe weather risk along the Carolina coastline and potentially extending into portions of New England, though the exact storm track on Tuesday carries more inherent uncertainty than the Sunday and Monday setups, making it too early to identify specific risk areas with precision at this range. What is truly remarkable and meteorologically unusual about this entire pattern is the very real possibility that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday could each become active, severe weather days across nearly identical geographic regions that experienced a significant outbreak just days earlier. The Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast could potentially face 3 consecutive days of elevated severe weather risk within the span of roughly a week and a half, hitting the same communities, the same infrastructure, and the same landscapes repeatedly. That kind of repetitive, locked-in pattern behavior is genuinely rare and reflects just how deeply entrenched the overall jet stream configuration has become during this particular stretch of July. Meanwhile, as that corridor of severe weather cycles through the Midwest and tracks toward the East Coast, the heat dome building across the Great Plains will be simultaneously baking the central United States. Heat will build aggressively through the weekend and into next week, generating a dangerous heat wave across the plains, states that will affect millions of people. This combination of extreme heat across the center of the country alongside repeated rounds of organized severe weather to the north and east, all while Gulf Coast communities process the aftermath of Tropical Storm Bertha, creates one of the most geographically wide-ranging and simultaneously impactful weather patterns we have seen in quite some time. There will be very few places in the lower 48 that escape some form of significant weather impact over this 7 to 10 day stretch, and the breadth of that coverage is itself part of what makes this pattern so unusual. For those of you in North Carolina, Virginia, and along the Carolina coastline dealing with the flooding threat today, the most important thing you can do right now is stay weather aware, stay off flooded roads, and if you live anywhere near water in a low-lying area, move to higher ground before conditions deteriorate further. The rain is going to continue into tonight. And there could be additional flooding concerns carrying into Friday morning and afternoon as the moisture lingers across the region. Even as total moisture levels drop somewhat by Friday, the ground and waterways will already be saturated from today's event, meaning that even additional moderate rainfall could push rivers and streams to flood stage quickly. Please do not let your guard down too early in this situation. For Gulf Coast viewers dealing with Bertha's Texas landfall tonight or early tomorrow morning, please remain indoors during the heaviest rainfall and strongest wind gusts. Do not enter any storm surge or floodwaters regardless of how shallow they may appear on the surface, and follow the real-time guidance of your local emergency management officials and National Weather Service. Surge waters move with force, contain unseen debris, and frequently conceal downed electrical lines and other hazards that make them exponentially more dangerous than standing water would be in other circumstances. For viewers in Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Great Lakes states, and the Ohio Valley, watching the Sunday and Monday severe weather setups develop from a distance right now, use the relative quiet of the next few days wisely and proactively. Review your family's severe weather plan right now while calm conditions allow you to think clearly and act deliberately rather than reactively. Locate your nearest substantial shelter and understand how quickly you can reach it from your home, your workplace, and your children's school. Make sure every member of your household understands the plan and knows exactly where to go and what to do. Charge all devices fully ahead of the event. Enable county-level weather alerts on every phone in your household. If you do not already have a battery-powered or hand-crank weather radio, consider getting one. Because when severe weather is at its absolute worst and most active, cell service and internet connectivity can fail precisely when you need them most, and an independent alert source that operates without either of those could prove genuinely life-saving. Looking beyond the middle of next week, the forecast becomes increasingly uncertain and model guidance begins to diverge meaningfully, making it difficult to pinpoint specific threats with confidence at that range. However, the overall atmospheric configuration and the persistence of the jet stream pattern suggest that this active weather corridor has the potential to continue recharging, possibly bringing even more rounds of severe weather to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast as we push deeper into the second half of July. The ingredients that have fueled this relentless pattern, the persistent trough, the expanding heat dome, the abundant tropical moisture supply, are not going to disappear overnight. This pattern has real staying power, and you should plan your situational awareness accordingly as we head into the weeks ahead. That said, current indications suggest that conditions may begin trending at least slightly more settled toward the very tail end of next week and the final days of July, potentially offering a brief and welcome window of lower impact weather before the calendar turns to August. But that relief is still a long way off, and there's a great deal of significant and, in some cases, dangerous weather to navigate carefully before we arrive there. The bottom line across all of this is straightforward. This is a pattern that demands preparation, attention, and respect from virtually every corner of the country over the next 7 to 10 days. The flooding threat in the Carolinas and Virginia is active and life-threatening right now. The tropical storm situation along the Gulf Coast requires vigilance tonight and tomorrow. The building heat dome across the Great Plains will be producing dangerous conditions for millions of people through the weekend and into next week. And the multi-day severe weather outbreak developing for Sunday through Tuesday across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley is a threat that every resident of those regions needs to take seriously and prepare for actively. This is going to be one of the most broadly impactful weather stretches of the entire 2025 season, and the communities that come through it safest will be the ones that stayed informed, took the forecast seriously, and made a plan before the weather arrived rather than during it. That wraps up today's comprehensive 7 to 10 day forecast. We have covered the catastrophic flash flooding threat unfolding right now across North Carolina and Virginia, the tropical storm Bertha situation and its impacts along the Louisiana and Texas Gulf Coast, the Central Plains flooding and active severe weather picture for today and Friday, Saturday's transitional setup, and the critically important multi-day severe weather outbreak building for Sunday through Tuesday across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley, all happening simultaneously alongside the dangerous heat dome expanding across the Great Plains. There is a lot of important forecast information still to come as this pattern continues to evolve and sharpen, and we will have updates coming as the specific details of the Sunday and Monday severe weather threats come into clearer focus. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe by using the button below right now. We produce detailed and accurate severe weather content like this regularly, and this is not a pattern you want to navigate without good information. Thank you so much for watching today's forecast. Stay weather aware, stay safe wherever you are in the country, and we will see you in the next video or live stream.